What's going down, guys? Welcome to the channel. Today I want to talk about Nintendo and what some companies may be doing moving forward. Now, I know one company in particular is definitely moving forward with this, and that is Marvelous Studios. There was a recent interview, guys, that took place, and the issue of discussion is physical game releases by certain companies. Now, if you haven't heard, Nintendo, the Switch 2 in particular, is definitely stumbling out of the gate when it comes to physical games, guys.
Perfect KO.
The majority of their games, and that's third-party games, those games are going to be download games only, okay? You're not going to get the entire game. If you want the game, you're just going to have to go download it, okay? Even if you choose to go with the key cards, which is a physical cartridge, but it's just a code on the cartridge that allows you to download the games to your Nintendo Switch 2, all right? And the Switch 1, if you don't know, the beautiful thing about that system is that most of those games come on the cartridge. So you can play offline, you can play whenever you want, and there's no issues, okay? And that's why I love the Switch 1. But the Switch 2, I mean, it's not looking good when it comes to the physical copies, guys. But anyway, I say all that to say that the Marvelous USA CEO, Ken Berry, basically did an interview and was talking about why they made a decision to stick with the physical copies. Okay, now if you don't know about Marvelous Studios, they are a dope company. I really liked them, and matter of fact, one of my all-time favorite Switch 1 games is Daemon X Machina, and they are basically responsible for that game. They're also doing Rune Factory 5 and so on and so forth. They've done a lot of different titles, guys, but they basically said, look, whatever we put out in the near future, we're going to try to make a commitment and have all our games physical. Okay, we're going to put it all on a disc. Now, that's kind of crazy in essence, and I'll get to that, but I guess what I'm trying to say is not a lot of companies are doing this, okay, out the gate. Could Nintendo change their tune maybe a year, 2 years into the life cycle of the system? Sure. And that's what I'm banking on. Okay. I hope that eventually they do that. But right now, the rule of thumb with Nintendo is we're moving forward with 64 gigabyte carts only. Nothing else. You can't go and get a 2 gigabyte card, or 4, 8, so on and so forth. Okay. The Switch 1 was able to do that. There were different tiers for that. And basically the developer or the publisher decided, hey, we're going to go ahead and move forward with this, or we're not. You know what I mean? So, and most of them went ahead and went forward because they had options. Okay. If they created a game, if there's an indie title out there and they said, you know what, we want this to be physical for the consumer, because the beautiful thing about the Switch 1 is having those physical games, having that collection, right? And so a lot of companies were able to make that decision and say, oh yeah, we have options. Our game is only 900 megabytes. So there's one out there for us. There's a cartridge out there for us that we can get, and it'll be cheap. We won't have to pay, crazy prices. Okay. Because each cart, the higher you go up, the more expensive they get. So they don't have that option on the Switch 2, or apparently that's what they're saying right now. I think there is an option. Personally, I just think that Nintendo's trying to cut corners, and they're saying, you know what, look, this is what we're going to do. And if they get enough flack for this down the road, we could see them change this. We could see 32 gig, we could see 16, and so on and so forth, moving down to make it easier and more affordable for people who want to put out games and not have it eat up their bottom line. So that's what Marvelous is talking about right now, and they're just saying, okay, we're gonna go ahead and move forward with that. And even though our game may only be 20 gigabytes to make, we're gonna eat that cost and just deal with the 64 gigabyte carts right now. And that's why you're seeing all of these developers, guys, with download codes as opposed to physical copies, because they don't want to pay an overhead of something they're not even going to use, which I think is a stupid rule. I don't know why Nintendo decided to go this route. I really don't know. And it's a lot going on with Nintendo, the Switch 2 right now, guys, because they've done a lot of things that they haven't done before. And one of them is not letting anyone get a hold of the system before launch so that they can get a chance to go over everything. And the reason that is because they're not finished. They still have work to do. Okay, there's still a lot of games that have come out of the gate that are not compatible with the Switch 2 right now, apps included. Okay, you have, apps like YouTube, one of my favorite apps, Crunchyroll. These are apps that work on the Switch 1 that aren't working right now on the Switch 2 when it comes out. And that's why they don't want the Switch 2 out here right now, because not just because of that, but also because there's a lot of games that are still incompatible. All right. They supposedly have a new day one update and it's not ready. Okay. And that's why I say Nintendo jumped out of the gate a little too soon, because I think if they had all their ducks in a row, they would have given these systems to the press already. They would have done that in the past, but the fact that they didn't lets me know that they're still behind on a lot of things like this day one update. Okay, they could have had this done if they took care of business at home. And that's what I'm saying. This is something unprecedented that Nintendo has been doing, and it just doesn't bode well for me personally. Now, hey, I know there's still so many people that are dying to play this and cannot wait and are going to be in those lines and fighting other people trying to find that system and all that. And that's fine. That's if that's what you want. Hey,
have you ever smoked crack cocaine?
You know what I mean? Do what you want to do. But me personally, guys, this is one of the main reasons I decided not to move forward with buying the Switch 2 day one, because of all these issues, guys. And I don't know if they're going to be able to handle all this, especially out the gate. I know they're not. I know there's going to be issues and there's going to be things that aren't going to be properly done day one. Okay, there's going to be time that needs to be taken for all this stuff to come together. And my thing is, it should have been done. The Switch 2 should be coming out of the gate ready to go. And that's that. You have some people saying, well, they're doing this to circumvent all of the reverse engineering and, all the leaks and things of that nature. You know what? I don't buy that. Is that a viable excuse? It could be, depending on who you ask. But if you're asking me, it's not. Okay. I can tell you one thing that it doesn't make sense. Like I said, the incompatibility of these other games that are out here. And one of them is Nier Automata, which is one of my all-time favorite games. So, yeah, if you wanted to play that, you're not going to be able to do it. And that's just one of many. But hopefully they get it together. Hopefully, YouTube and some of these other apps end up working on this system at some point. But I'll just say this now: if you guys are getting a Switch day one, be prepared for some road bumps.
I'm so fucking tired of this shit. Fuck this shit.
Be prepared for that, because it's coming. All right, I'm just keeping it real. And like I said, I don't see myself getting one, if I do, for a year or two. Okay, after the systems come out, because I'm just not happy with the third-party games. I won't be buying any third-party games on the Switch anyway. It'll be first-party only, or indie games that wouldn't come out physically at all from the get-go. There's plenty of games that I love that on the Switch 1 that never had a physical release, and I buy those, and those are smaller games as well. The file sizes on those, it's fine to download those with those small file sizes, especially if there's no physical release for those. Okay, some very small teams, very small indie companies and stuff like that. But I'm talking about companies that have money, AAA companies that are doing this stuff third party, and it's just going to be downloaded only. So if you're a gamer who plays multiple things like me anyway, it's not going to matter. Third party stuff's not going to matter anyway, because there are going to be better versions of those on the PS5 and so on and so forth. So I would leave that there. I only mess with Nintendo for their first party stuff, and right now Donkey Kong and Mario Kart aren't enough for me. But I wanted to just give you guys a little bit of information on this. And one thing that kind of spooks me a little bit is at the end of this interview, the guy asks the CEO about, moving forward, is this going to be something that they're going to be able to do long term. And he basically said, if we have titles that are indie, most likely that's not going to be able to happen, because indie titles usually go for, $30 to $40. In other words, it would have to be 50 plus for them to see it as a viable profit for them to move forward with, doing physical games for their games. Okay, so don't be surprised if you see a game from Marvelous that comes out and it's download only, and especially if it's a indie game. So if you're seeing something $29.99, $39.99, most likely those games are not going to be physical, guys. You're going to have to go somewhere outside the box, like a Play Asia, or maybe what a lot of people don't like, but limited run games to get those. And those are your only options right now moving forward. So I say all that to say, keep your eyes open, and I'll be keeping you guys updated on everything that's going on with the Nintendo Switch 2 and beyond, guys, as far as news and stuff like that. So if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please consider doing so. And I will see you guys in the next video.